I remember damage. Who would have thought that the moment I was born, I would be handed a task so difficult that I would spend years trying to understand it? And the strange part is, it wasn't even my task to begin with. Because when people talk about growing up, they usually talk about school, friends, relationships, and figuring out who they are. But some people are born into something else. Some people are born into consequences. Consequences created by people who were already here long before they arrived. That's what I mean when I say I remember damage. Not just my damage, damage that existed before I was even born. As a kid, I didn't understand any of it. I just lived through it. The arguments, the absence, the neglect, the broken relationships, the things people did to each other, the things people refused to talk about, the things everyone acted like were normal. And for a long time, I thought that was just life. But as I got older, something changed. I started noticing patterns. I started realizing that the problems weren't random. The anger wasn't random. The neglect wasn't random. The defensiveness wasn't random. Everybody seemed to be carrying something. Everybody seemed to have wounds they never dealt with. Everybody seemed to be passing something forward without even realizing it. And that's when I began to understand something that honestly scared me. Because the damage itself wasn't the scariest part. The scariest part was realizing that if I wasn't careful, I could become it. I could repeat it. I could inherit the same habits, the same behaviors, the same unresolved issues, the same pain, and then pass it to somebody else. That realization sat with me for years because now I wasn't just dealing with my own mistakes, I was dealing with the mistakes that came before me too. Trying to understand them, trying to make sense of them, trying to figure out what belonged to me and what didn't, trying to figure out what I actually wanted to carry forward. And sometimes that's exhausting because awareness is a strange thing. Once you see something, you can't unsee it. Once you recognize a pattern, you notice it everywhere. You start asking questions. Questions that nobody seems to want to answer. Questions that make people uncomfortable. Questions about why things happen the way they did. Questions about why certain behaviors are defended. Questions about why pain keeps repeating itself. And sometimes there are no satisfying answers. Sometimes all you get is realization itself. The realization that the damage was real. The realization that it affected you. The realization that some of your struggles didn't begin with you. And maybe that's what I've been trying to understand this entire time. Not how to erase the damage, not how to forget it, but how to make sure it stops with me. Because I can't change what happened. I can't change the people involved. I can't go back and give myself the guidance I wish I had. But I can choose what happens next. I can choose whether I repeat the cycle. I can choose whether I ignore it. Or I can choose to understand it. And maybe that's what healing actually is. Not pretending the damage never happened. Not allowing it to define your entire life. But understanding it well enough that it no longer controls the direction you're heading. I remember damage. And I wish I could end this video off with some profound lesson to be learned here, but I don't have the words for that at the moment, unfortunately. I am very sorry. I'll see you later. Hopefully, you related to some of the things I was saying, despite it not being very direct. But Yeah. Goodbye.